What is going on, everybody? Bobby Fi here. Going to be talking through this MLB slate. Hope you're having a good Monday wherever you are. Hopefully, you're having a better one than we are with these lunatics trying to create anyway, I'm not even going to get into it. It's been a weird weekend. I'll put it that way. We just would like to keep everybody else out, and I would like to not hear anybody else weigh in about LA who's not in LA. So that would be nice for a change, and we can focus on some DFS, get a little distracted, and pay attention to some things that actually matter, like DFS and making money. I did want to remind everybody, use the code finals2025 for 33% off your first month. We have some awesome packages. Like I said, we're redoing the site. Should be done in the next couple weeks. It's taking a little longer than we thought it would. But again, we have all the information up there currently. We have the partnership with PayDirt. You get all of Goldie and Cheats' projections in addition to everything SaberSim has to offer, and we're just charging a fraction more. Also, all of my exact exposures before lock every day. All of basically everything I'm doing. All of Rhodey's got his playbook for baseball. Brandon Cruz for NASCAR, which is pretty much entirely behind the paywall now. So, hope you guys would give it a look, and yeah, we'll get after it. Good to see Andy in here, and whoever else is in here. Welcome, and we'll go through this slate. I'm going to share my screen, and so far I haven't made any changes or whatever. So what I usually do is I use some combination of Goldie or Sheets. Now, of course, Sheets is gone in Paris right now, which he was quite lucky to be at one of the best. Oh my God! I mean, talk about an incredible final. That was amazing. So he got to see Alcaraz and Sinner in the final over at Roland Garros, which just an absolute awesome thing. Anyway, so we're gonna get into it, and I'm gonna talk about this slate. I'm just a little distracted with everything that's going on here lately, so bear with me. Thanks a lot, Brett, and thanks, guys. Appreciate all the kind words. You guys are awesome. So we really appreciate everything you do. And hopefully, for those of you guys who aren't site members, maybe you take a look. And also, we do have the trials up. Even if you used them, you can use them before, because like I said, our offering has changed, and it's going to change even more. But right now, we've got a ton of cool stuff, and the prices will probably never be as low as they are right now. I'll mention a little bit about FanDuel. I'm not going to go into builds on FanDuel because I have to do a little more research myself. But maybe I'll throw something out there. But I will try to do it what I can for that, Brett, since you asked. All right, so I just ran the projections and I ran the sims and everything, and this is just what I got randomly. So don't follow along with assuming this is what we're going to do for sure. I've got my weather screen on the other side. We do have one game with serious problems, which is the Miami-Pittsburgh game. So we'll see if we even need to worry about that too much. So, sometimes if there's a game that we don't love, we can sort of just cross it off. And I'm not sure I love that game. And it start, again, reminder, 6:40 Eastern time to start tonight, so you guys don't get left out. But let's start off with Cincinnati and Cleveland. And it is like very medium day in Cleveland. I think Ortiz is interesting today. Goldie's got him a little lower than the SaberSim. What I often do when I do my builds is I'll take Goldie's projection for the pitchers, because Goldie and Sheets aren't going to be able to keep up as fast as SaberSim in terms of updating, like if a player gets scratched or something like that. So every now and then you don't want to end up with somebody who's not in your lineup, but I do like using it and just changing closer to Goldie's projection as a pitcher. In this case, though, I happen to like this projection for Ortiz. I think there's a lot of upside here. Obviously, it's a hit or miss offense with Cincinnati, but I think Ortiz has some pretty decent upside, and really just relative to the slate, do we need to use him? I don't think we need to, but I think he's an interesting pivot off of some of the other chalkier plays. 5.64K, he's certainly going to be in some of my lineups today, so I'm going to put a little note next to Ortiz. And then on the other side, we've got Wade Miley going up against Cleveland. And you could have told me Cleveland had a run total of like 5.5 or 6, and it wouldn't have surprised me. I'm kind of interested here in Cleveland. Now, when I look at the ownership, I see why I'm not. I see why I'm not getting to them. It's a little chalky for what we want to do. But look, they have to be on the list. It seems like a good spot. They've got Wade Miley and a very, very average, at best, I would say below average bullpen behind them. The problem is this is a pretty heavy ownership to deal with on a fairly large slate. So that's my thoughts on that one. Pittsburgh and Miami, again, we have to worry a little bit about the weather, and we've got Yuri Perez and Burrows. If I had to pick one of these pitchers to use, it would be Perez. It would be Burrows. They're both viable, to be honest. These offenses have been bad enough. And I don't think I'm getting to either of these stacks. I did get a little bit. They're getting some ownership, especially as they're getting some ownership with the weather issues. I'll have to revisit this one when I go live at 5:30 later. but I'm not all that excited about this Miami-Pittsburgh situation myself. So I am, for right now, not going to pay that much attention to it. We'll see if we have to later on, depending on what the weather looks like and if it even plays at all. All right, we've got Wheeler against, this is a tough situation. Wheeler against the Cubs, Boyd against the Phillies. Players I actually like in fairly tough matchups. For what it's worth, without Bryce Harper, it's not quite the same Philly lineup. So I actually think both these guys are in play. Let's just see what the strikeout expected rate is. Yeah, it's pretty high. All right, I'm going to have to add Wheeler, but I'm not going to like go out of my way and overly prioritize either of these guys. I actually think Boyd is the interesting tournament play at lower ownership against the Philly team without Harper. Boyd's been over 20 in 5 of his last 6. I think he's interesting, reasonably priced. So I actually think Boyd might be the one I end up using more of by the end of the day, or at least in the higher buy-ins that I play. Just to, again, just something I'm considering. I think they both have plenty of upside. I don't like picking on the Cubs. This offense scares me. Again, I also think Wheeler is one of the top 3 pitchers in baseball. Again, he's a guy who's been over 20, 8 out of 9 starts. Is only his last one against Atlanta. He's got an incredible leash and he's efficient with his pitches. So there's certainly upside for him here. It's just a tough matchup with the Cubbies. That's a really scary offense to me. So that's the only thing that worries me. And honestly, Philly is a pretty scary offense as well. But Boyd, at least without Harper, I can tell myself a story with Boyd. So we're gonna have to figure it out because that is a pretty good. Wheeler's going to be in probably 20% of my lines, but I still think I might be below the field on him when all is said and done today. All right, Shane Baz and Bello in Boston. What was that? Sorry, don't know if you guys can hear that. My windows are all closed, but that certainly sounded alarming. And these days, when you hear something alarming in Los Angeles, you got to keep your head on the swivel. You got to be ready for it. I'm only half joking. I think both these pitchers are in play. Nothing out of this world. I think people probably don't realize how much Boston strikes out, and it's not great hitting weather at Fenway. I think Baz may end up being like a preferred pitcher for me by the end of the day. Look, there is a downside here. Obviously, there's enough. It's still the Red Sox in Wrigley. It's still the Red Sox and Fenway, but it's 60 degrees with 10-mile-an-hour winds blowing in. I think Baz has some upside, and I think Bello has some upside against these Rays, even though nothing in their recent history would make you want to play them. I also think you take the other outlook of stacking, which people don't seem to want to do. So it's kind of a funny game where it's getting forgotten about. But again, not great hitting weather for Fenway, but you still factor in the fact that it is Fenway, and it's something to at least be considered. We'll find something else we like hitting wise, I promise, because right now we have not run into a lot to love. But I think that Boston game is certainly on the outskirt, on the inside of what we should at least consider. All right, Sale against the Brewers here. Sale obviously having a spectacular year. Hard not to have him as the SP1 today. I think it's pretty clear, well in a way, that he's number 1. I'd rather have a righty in general against Milwaukee, and sure, there's a couple of good lefty mashers. I don't know if we want to say that far, but a couple of decent guys against lefties on the Brewers. I do like Sale. I think he's look at you see the strikeout significantly higher than everybody else. And give me Atlanta. What is going on here? Why is Atlanta's run total only 4 even? I have heard the things about Savali's not as bad and all this stuff. He gives up a lot of hard contact this year. This is too low owned. I think Atlanta is going to go up right up to the top of the list for priorities hitting wise for me. I love this ownership being low, and I am not afraid of Aaron Savali. I think this is a great spot. I think Atlanta is going to be one of the teams I go out of my way to try to target tonight. And very high on them. Hopefully we don't get one of those weird Savali gets all the beat. Atlanta strikes out and they have power, and you take a non-strikeout pitcher against them. Just makes a lot of sense to have them in the lineups. And this lineup is much better, obviously, with the return of Acuna, who's been back for a little while. But this is a much better lineup than I feel they're getting credit for. That run total kind of threw me for a loop. I thought that would be at least 4.5, maybe even like closer to 5. And it's just barely over 4. So a little surprising. All right, we've got Barrios in St. Louis and Palante, who I try all the time to stack against, and I never get there. Um, okay, can we make a case here for Barrios? Let's take a look at what his strikeout expected rate is today. How many we're expecting? 4.2, really low. That feels a little bit low. I wouldn't be surprised if he had a low game, but for like that's sort of like his like minimum. I feel like. Um, yeah, he's actually pitched well his last couple starts. There is, I believe, some sneaky upside here for him. I'm not going to go out of my way to get him, nor am I going to go out of my way to fade him. Let's just see where Goldie has him at projections wise. He's actually got him lower. This feels a little low on both sides to me. Now, I don't think I want to stack the Blue Jays against Palante, who, although he did just get crushed, it's every time that I stack against him, it doesn't work. But he's gonna look. I guess they've got to at least be on the list. I just don't feel like it just never works for me, and it's very frustrating. But we have to sort of throw out the past and look at a possible situation today. They're cheap enough. There's enough pop in this offense to get it going. Let's consider a little bit of Toronto and Barrios. I'm still a little bit closer to indifferent on. Athletics at Angels. We've got Springs. We've got Kikuchi. These are sort of the natural other guys to consider a little bit. This run line for the Angels is remarkably high. 5 from Vegas or 4.9. That's pretty high, but you also have the 2 highest strikeout options. Something's got to give one way or the other. If Springs does not have an opener, I will play some Springs tonight. I think there's enough ceiling. I think he's cheap enough. I'm going to actually put like a little, I think Springs and Sale. Now, look, there's risk with Springs too. Don't get me wrong. That's why they have the huge run line for the Angels. But there is the upside. And Kikuchi, same thing on the other side. I think you have a somewhat similar options, but the difference is Kikuchi is a little bit more expensive and will be, I'm guessing, I actually think when it's all said and done, Kikuchi ends up a little bit higher owned. And I think Goldie's numbers are closer to accurate here to where the people have this. So people have Kikuchi much higher. We're going to sort of split the difference, and they have Springs lower, but I kind of like Springs. So I'm going to leave them at 16.4. We made Kikuchi a little higher. We made Springs a little bit higher. And again, as I mentioned, this is sort of somewhat of a 4-pronger. I think I'm a little more interested in the Angels than I am in the A's, but they're both in play. So A's and Angels certainly in play at first look. I do like these prices on these Angels, even though their offense in the last couple months has been really good. It was good without Trout, and now you got Trout back. So, you had Trout back for a little bit, but all right. It's not small, but not totally full 12-gamer plus. This feels like another 4-pronger to me. Well, 3-pronger, I should say. We're not playing Hancock. I mentioned last time I got the right end of Kelly. Now I think I want to fade him, and I want to play Seattle, and I think I want to play Arizona, and I think Arizona is going to end up being the chalk, along with Cleveland, I believe. Kelly has enough upside to where you're obviously keeping him on the list, but I also think that there's enough upside for this offense. Great, again, let's take a look at what the roof open, whether the roof's open in Arizona. My guess is probably not because it's so hot. But this is just even with it closed this year, we've just seen. Let's just see. Come on, let's see. Roof open. I'm guessing it's going to be closed. Yeah, it's closed. So not as ideal, but like again, you get the 9.5 total for a reason. You're going to have some ownership on the Arizona side, not much on the Seattle side. I like this game a ton. It also allows me to do the late swapping, so I can put it in my early builds and then always swap off of it later because we've got good options with the Angels and A's, as I mentioned. And then we've got the Dodgers in San Diego, which can always get there, especially on the Dodger side, but on both sides, to be honest. The problem is, so you've got Pivetta, who would be the other best pitcher on the slate along with Sale, but like it's tough against. I'm not going out of my way to try to get Pivetta against the Dodgers today. I'd rather go a different route. I will take some of him if I end up with a little bit. Same thing with Dustin May. Actually, May might be a little bit more interesting here. San Diego's offense has not, been incredible lately. May has had some decent outings, and he's kind of been a little boomer busty. Although he's kind of, I don't know, he's sort of straightened things out a little bit after the rocky start. He has a huge upside and a huge K upside, but it's not a team that strikes out a ton. So something's got to give. And in San Diego today, the weather at 62 degrees, San Francisco like, and yeah. So I think that some Dodgers, some Padres is fine, but I think that God, if it was anybody else, I'd get the May and Pavetta are both on my list, but they're going to be on the way, a little bit aside to everything else. So my preferred teams for today, or my preferred, strategy for today: Sale and Springs, Seattle and Arizona, and then Atlanta are my favorite stacks, with Cleveland, who I love, just chalky. Toronto, A's, Angels, Dodgers. That's sort of the main ones for me, and sort of in that order, for what it's worth. Let me get rid of this, and let's see. Hey, Eric, good to hear you. Yeah, okay. Again, I always say the same thing. I'm fine with certain individual hitters and stuff and takes. I don't love this, like, you should never be thinking about individual hitters when you're building lineups. Like, it will cloud your positive judgment. You'll end up with more stacks of them if you're using builders. So I will occasionally point out certain guys. Brent Rooker, we'll call that an in-between one. Usually the ones I point out are like the obvious ones who are on a tear. Acuna is the Ohtani. I remember talking about you got to play him every day, no matter what ownership, when he was going 50 for the 50-50 last year. Because it was like he was running every time he was on, and he's swinging for the fences every time and willing to take a walk so he can steal a base. So you were getting like, he must have, for like that month straight, averaged like 20 fantasy points. It was nuts. Sagano, what are you even talking about? I don't even know where Sagano is entering into anything with Rooker. Sagano's not pitching against Rooker, at least as of right now. I don't have Sagano pitching. I have got it as Kikuchi. It's Sagano. I don't even know what that means. All right. I'll take a look at FanDuel after this in just a second. Let's see. Roof closed next 3 days. Yeah, I saw that, Anthony. Thank you. I don't understand what the Sagano relevance is. Am I missing something? Is Sagano even pitching today? He's not even on the slate, is he? I don't know what that is. All right. Yeah. So moving past it. All right. So again, this is what the Sims were giving me early on. They're giving me all of the A's. All of the A's and Angels. Again, okay with getting to the A's and Angels or Seattle and Arizona, because late swap is going to be effective with that giant gap. Now, I prefer the Seattle Arizona game, obviously, but as I mentioned, I do have some interest in the A's Angels, and I like Springs a lot. Yeah, I was totally good. Okay, Eric, thank you. I was like trying to figure out what the hell is he talking about. This Sagano, like, it's not. Yeah, I was like, Baltimore's not even playing. But you can see they, naturally got to the Seattle. And then as far as what it gives you right now, and again, things are going to change throughout the day when things tighten up. I don't buy that Springs is going to, I think his ownership is going to be closer to what Goldie has him, but I'll wait till later today to change it. I also did change, you can see I changed Sales to basically what Goldie had. Springs, I moved to where I just bumped it up a hundredth of a point. Wheeler, I got to where Goldie is. And Kikuchi, I couldn't quite get there because that seems pretty ambitious, but I certainly don't mind the idea of some of it. But the main thing is going to be for me Springs and Sale, and we'll figure out the rest later. So let me pull up FanDuel real quick. I haven't loaded my lineups on here yet. I'm just going to take a quick look to see what's different in terms of, and we'll just see what's happening in terms of ownership. Yeah, it looks like pretty heavily Sale Wheeler in a tough matchup for Wheeler. You do have Kikuchi, Springs, Pavetta. Yeah, okay. This seems logical to me. I think this is around. Boy, this Springs thing. I think you're going to see a lot lower ownership on Springs. I think SaberSim has him way higher than everybody else does, which is kind of cool because we can take advantage of that. We like we want to be a little bit different. The problem is, I just think the projection is a little bit too high as a median for Springs, but it is an incredible price. In terms of the batters, we're going to see what we've got. Let's see, yeah, Cleveland, Arizona, Xavier Edwards. Oh, it's because he's so cheap and at a bad position. Pittsburgh, Miami. We may have to cross off. We're going to have to wait on that one. Because of that weather game, we're going to have to be later in the day before I get my early builds together and my exposures. We will have a live show at 5:30, and I'll probably post my exposures right after that show because I'd like to have more information and more things figured out when I actually do. So for all you site members, that's where we're at. No love for the Brewers. I'm trying to figure out where that one's coming from. No. Why would I have love for the Brewers? No. So Eric, I don't play your way. I've hung around this industry and been really successful for a long time for a reason. I don't just every time the best pitcher's facing somebody decide, okay, well, I'm going to stack the other team. I think that's a really silly thing to do unless you're on really small slates. I don't mind it if you have a guy like Dylan Cease as the popular guy. Show me when the that has nothing to do with anything. The Braves are 7-13. That means absolutely nothing. So I mean, go ahead. Like, again, if you want to play the Brewers, I'm not going to stop you. I will point out there has been exactly one game that you could have used against Chris Sale this entire season, and that was against Philadelphia earlier this season. But look, if you want to get just contrarian, don't even try and think about anything else if you're going to do that. Just play it. And, again, if you want to play that style, you're going to lose almost all the time. Occasionally you're going to hit. But yeah, that's it. Sorry, Brent. So let's talk. So yeah, this is just sort of like, again, giving you sort of the FanDuel outlook. So we're going to get even lower ownership. I don't understand why the Braves aren't way more popular. That's the one thing. And I'll bet you by the time that we do this show again at 5:30, the ownerships have changed. I would have thought everybody from the Braves like double-digit ownership against Savale here, and I feel like they should be. So I'm very into the Braves and making that my primary. I can play the Braves with Arizona, who I like as chalk, and I can play Seattle with Cleveland, who I like as chalk. So that's sort of where I'm at. Wheeler had a baby. Okay, good. That's good. I like that, Eric. Again, tough matchup, but Zach Wheeler is good enough to where we can play him even tough matchups. We had the same discussion the other day with Tyreek Skubal. Skubal is the best pitcher in baseball, along with Skeens and probably Wheeler. To be honest with you, it's probably like those three. It's pretty close between the other guys. You've got Yamamoto and you've got some other guys who are coming in and out. I'll tell you who's not the best pitcher is Jacob deGrom. That's sort of an inside joke that most of you guys who know me for a while know why I've gone there. But again, so I would just stay clear of like playing Cleveland and Arizona because that's going to be just a mega chalk on FanDuel. So that's it. His fourth kid, good for him, getting after it. Going Phillip Rivers style. Anyway, appreciate you guys all. I'm not going to say I'm not a religious man, but I respect it. And I'm not going to say pray for LA, but think of us and hope for the best. And good luck to everybody today. I will be live at 5:30, and we will talk a little bit more then. I will have all my stuff up, all my content up a little bit later. Appreciate everybody who's a site member. And go ahead and check it out. It will not be this cheap again. And yeah, great packs out there. So good luck, everybody.